talked about, if your partner isn't texting you back, the immediate assumption, if you are a bit of an anxious person, is to assume that they're cheating on you, which is clearly, or usually, not the case. It's just an immediate assumption that is rooted in emotion. Like, our immediate reaction is, they're cheating on me. I'm not good enough for them. They never valued me. And then we might even be compelled to engage in pretty unhealthy behaviors because of that, right? Like, if I think I'm not good enough, then I have to do more, right? Or I have to try and make them jealous to make it seem like I'm a hotter commodity than I actually am. But obviously, our own insecurity is getting in the way of that, and it really starts to breed unhealthy behaviors, which is never good in the first place. So instead of just being ourselves, we try and do things or change the value proposition, when really all we should be doing is being ourselves and communicating to get on the same page with them. We shouldn't have to convince them to do anything, right? We want someone who chooses us for us. And so when we start playing games like that, we're already cooked. Because the only way to get on the same page is by communicating your concerns. And we also talked a bit about that in episode 0. But essentially, a lot of the negative intrusive thoughts are really assumptions that only hurt us and our relationships. And they certainly, 99% of the time, aren't reflective of reality. The flip side to all those toxic behaviors is actually taking a step back and looking at the situation objectively. Because what we tend to do is we perceive an event, right? And then we assume whatever that event means. And so I perceive them not responding as they're cheating, or they don't value me, or I'm not enough, and that means I'm unlovable, right? Look at how we spiral, and that's something very, very easy to do, but it's only ever coming from within us. And these thoughts only ever hurt us the most, and since they're all rooted in emotion, because of our limiting beliefs, they're only going to hurt us and the relationship. The reality is that we don't really know what's happening on your partner's side of things, right? You don't know what they're doing or what they're thinking at any given moment. And if you're sure, then you're like a clairvoyant and you should be a trillionaire, because then you could take that gift and then take it to the stock market, and then you'd be a god. But if you feel unloved all the time, it doesn't mean you actually are, right? If they talk to you on a regular basis, they do so for a reason. If they are committed to you, they do so for a reason. Them having something that kept them busy just happened throughout our day-to-day. You know, maybe they're on their shift, or maybe they were tired after work and they're just taking a nap. So not texting back as soon as you want, we really got to take a step back and think about if it's actually an indication that they don't value you. Right? Sure, in the moment we may feel that way, but is it really the case? Have they given any signs that they would do that to us, or that they don't actually value us? Like, are they dealing with anything on their end? Maybe they got something on their mind, right? We got to be a bit more understanding for the context of the situation. And one thing to consider, in this example anyways, is why would we feel as if the stakes are so high and go from 0 to 100, right? Because we can look inwards and go, I feel, any particular way. Let's use the example of being unloved. I feel unloved when whatever happens. And if this is a common theme, and if this is a pattern with you, if you constantly feel unloved, or if the relationship is in jeopardy because they're not doing, X, then it's certainly something to tackle, because to me, at least, it sounds like a poor sense of self if this is a recurring theme. Is this the thing that we default to? And then we could even bring into question if we trust them or not, right? And then we can even drill down further. Why or why not? Right? If I feel as if they are cheating on me, and I know that it's probably not the case, why do I still feel as if that's a possibility? Right? It's certainly an area that you guys could cover. And you should be both on the same page with boundaries. And are you even able to have a difficult conversation? Do you feel as if it'll start a conflict if you bring those concerns up? And why do you think bringing up a concern is any kind of reason to end things? Or that they will end things if you bring up a concern? And if we really see that as the case, then it's worth asking yourself, do you really want to be with someone who neglects your concerns or who doesn't work with you and doesn't have a really solid approach to conflict resolution? In episode 0, we talked about that meaningful relationships with anyone require 4 things. 5 for romance in particular. Trust, loyalty, commitment, open communication, and the 5th for romance is exclusivity. We have to make sure our partner is on the same page in terms of how we approach these values. And if that's not the case and we're actually scared to bring up a particular concern with them, chances are there's something deeper in need of address. And this is the difference internal work makes, right? It forces us to get clear on things and to get out of our own heads, because then we become more inquisitive about what's actually happening in the world around us. And from that clarity comes stability, right? Especially when we learn to just chill out for a second and articulate what's bugging us, either for ourselves or to them, we benefit. And if you think that if I say something, oh, she'll think I'm a little bitch and leave me, we would then have the clarity of mind to be like, oh, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe that she's not someone I want around if they're approaching conflict this way, if they're not hearing me out this way, if they don't take my concerns seriously. And we got to think to ourselves, someone who leaves us when we bring up an area of concern or be vulnerable with them, is this someone we actually want in our lives, right? This is a person who's supposed to be with us for life, who we're supposed to support each other, right? There's nothing cringe about being true to yourself and to others, and if they care about you, then they'll take you seriously, right? There are people who will say this kind of approach is beta behavior, or you're a pussy bitch for trying to get on the same page with your partner and getting vulnerable with them or bringing up a concern. But one thing to note is that imagine the kind of shitty relationship that they're in if they can't even communicate and articulate any of these concerns with them, right? They're the betas, because they can't even bring it within themselves or find it within themselves to be vulnerable with someone else, especially someone that should be able to handle it, right? You should absolutely ridicule them for their shitty position and their terrible approach to people.